And Mr. Speaker, we must tell the country how many members are there. Are they 5? Are they 10? Their names must be given. It's number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, Parliament must make a formal complaint to the Media Council of Kenya.
Over 90 of our members of Parliament who accompany the Speaker to the US, which is doing all round in the social media and other medias, showing us that we are only on the travel. And the House is full, you can see.
Parliament is under siege. Today, if you go anywhere in this country, you are not respected because of the campaign that the media is doing against Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, your recommendation and your decision should be, we should sack all the people working in this media house because they have become rumor mongers and they are just doing gutter press everywhere against members of Parliament.
Well, let's get it straight and first get some responses here and whether you share the views of some of the parliamentarians.
I absolutely do not. Right. I think we all have a duty to maintain a fiduciary responsibility, and I think the best thing we could have done is to explain properly to the people of Kenya what led to so many members of Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate,
yes,
to be able to find themselves in this legislative summit. One of the most important things that Kenyans ought to know is that Parliament work in committees.
Yes.
And committees have budgets. Nothing is allocated to them. If one committee saw it necessary to spend all the budget to send their members, maybe 3 or 4 of the committee, because in the Senate, we have 9 members in a committee. In the National Assembly, they have about 19 plus in a committee. If they felt it necessary to spend all the entire budget to be able to send their members to Tennessee, to be able to participate to this National Legislative Summit, so be it, it's theirs. But instead of explaining it to the people, we went on the defensive. I don't agree with that.
Right. And we had the leader majority saying that we need at least a complaint filed by the Media Council. Anything that has reached your table about this particular issue?
Not yet, but I would encourage them to. It's not too late. They can still file a complaint.
No, yes. But let me tell you something.
Right.
I think I want to fault the media a little bit on this
particular story.
On this particular story, because I think sometimes we in the media, and I'd say we in the media because I'm also a media practitioner, we thrive in sensational. What is sensational is what sells. Kenyans ought to hear that the parliamentarians who are fighting for more money to go to the counties are the ones spending more money, and people out there have no jobs. That is sensational. The truth of the matter is that the person who reported this story ought to have carried out their due diligence to be able to clearly define and tell the story as it is, but don't dramatize. Maybe if they told the story as it was, Kenyans would not have really bought it, but they had to make it juicy.
Okay, in this particular one, do you question the facts that are presented? But
yes,
this is actually a story by Lucas Baraza.
Yes, I do. Because if you look at in terms of the Senate, for instance, the number of senators who travel to the US were very few. If you look at the National Assembly, the number of the members of the National Assembly who traveled were actually few. The people who were there in the majority and who we hope that we can build their capacity are the staff.
Okay.
And
they didn't number 90 or 85 or...
But one thing, Mark, which people ought to understand is that we work in a system which I personally do not agree with, and I wish we could be able to change it, on a per diem structure.
Yes.
Where a member of the National Assembly or a member of the Senate will not get the same per diem as a staff. So when they came up with those figures of 1.2 billion, within 9 months, those were all fictitious. You need to count how much money is being paid for per diem per member of the National Assembly or the member of the Senate going abroad. If they're there, the truth of the matter is that maybe it's $1,000 a night, a day for them to be able to pay for all their expenses in terms of that. This is a member of the National Assembly or the member of the Parliament.
So you claim an exaggeration on some of the figures.
There's a lot of exaggeration.
And you were talking about, before you cut you short, on the complaints. These are some of the things they should be able to bring to you as Media Council in terms of challenging this story.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that the journalists are guided by the code of conduct
Yes.
for the practice of journalism in Kenya, and they have a responsibility to report fairly and accurately. And in the event that anyone feels that they have failed in meeting this threshold, then they should be able to confront it with facts. We should not rush into politicizing an issue because I think there is an opportunity for Parliament and the parliamentary leadership to come out and say the facts as they are, because the senator said media needs to use facts when they are reporting. So we have not yet seen anyone come out with the
And
facts.
they were to give a list, which they didn't. And
Which they did not.
Yes.
But as the Media Council of Kenya, our interest is to see that conflicts, be it intra-media or complaints against the media, are addressed amicably, and that's why within the infrastructure of the council we have the Media Complaints Commission, and nobody has come out to utilize this institution at an opportune time like this one.
And as they're challenging the facts here, they would be challenged to present the right version from their perspective.
Yeah,
perhaps that's one of the reasons they haven't even come to you.
And really, we let it not come out that the Complaints Commission is there to favor journalists. We can listen to complaints from members of the public, from news sources and subjects. And as a regulator, we are really an arbitrator, not interested in taking sides.
Kennedy Mureithi, I don't know what your reaction is from this, but first I'll ask, were you at all in any way, did you feel threatened from such a reaction from Parliament on this particular story?
I did not feel threatened at all.
You're asking Kennedy?
I've been told bigger things. But either way, listening to those sentiments coming from Parliament on that particular day, I felt like this is just Kenyans trying to vent their frustration, because the sentiments that were coming from parliamentarians, actually the Budalangi member of Parliament, he said we should sack. How do you sack?
How do you sack? You're not even Seriously,
you're not even the one who's employed these journalists.
Yes.
But also the majority leader was of the opinion that they are going to provide a list. Remember, to date, no list has been provided. Parliament has gone on recess. No list has been provided. Both most media houses did their due diligence, Senator, I'll correct you on that, and there was a list that was provided. This included members of the National Assembly, members of the Senate, members of the county assemblies, and also the staff that accompanied them. There were also other members of the National Assembly and Senate who had been invited earlier on and went there, and even some of them were even saying that we even used our money. So is there a list? Media has provided the list that was there from the organizers. Is Parliament giving us a list? That is one. Two, did people go for that concert? Yes.
Concert or conference?
The conference, the concert, you know, when you bring in Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
It becomes a concert.
But it was a conference
Then,
in Tennessee, yes.
Nation has a complaints desk.
Yes.
This story was actually broken by Nation.
Yes.
Has any of them come to the complaints desk? And remember, Nation is very impartial in this matter. Nation itself even has, there's this editor that we have who even bashes some of the stories that we do. So have they come here to say that this is the list? Nation runs apologies. If the story was not factual, Nation would have gone ahead to say that this story is not factual, and we add that word, E-R-R-E-D.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Then number two, remember when we went for the World Cup, there was a report that was apparently plagiarized at the end of the day. I'm not going to say so much, but I'm really waiting for that report to know what did members of Parliament learn in Tennessee.
Well, let me ask you a question, a very, very straight ask question. What would a list helps resolve? I've just made it very clear to you, Mark and Mureithi, that we work with committees. If the committee, and we don't get any money from anywhere else, we have got committees and we've got our budgets. We've got our foreign budget. No, wait, let me ask you a question. So what if a list is provided?
We'll know who went.
No, I will make it very clear. In the Senate, we had part of the leadership, which I sit in the House of Business. I sit in the House Business Committee, and most of the leadership in the House Business Committee attended that meeting. Okay, they used the budget of that committee. What would the list have? Okay, so these men,
list has
these
the
men
names
and
which are a
women,
term of reference.
these men
It's a
and
point of
women
reference.
travel.
You know,
no,
Mark,
no,
Mark,
let me,
Mark,
let
can
me,
I tell
let me
you something
finalize.
where I do agree with Ledama?
Yes.
Is probably, I'm going to get bashed for this, everybody has their own budget. If budget has been set aside for travel, then they will travel. But then again, is that not true?
Yeah.
And if there is budget that has been set aside for tea, they will drink tea.
No. You know, in the Senate, let me tell you.
He doesn't agree with that.
Let me
The
tell you.
point
But
is,
it's
though,
true,
one of the
they work
things
in
that-
committees,
Yes,
as he said.
No,
As you say, talk about the structures.
Let me,
but
let me
it's in light
demystify.
of the austerity, the need for austerity measures.
No,
and
let's
having all
let's
these
talk
people
about
go for
austerity
this-
measures,
yes,
as
yes,
you're putting it.
Yes.
The total budget allocated to Parliament, I think, is 1.4% of the national budget. Look at the budget policy statement and look at how much has been allocated to the national, to the Kenyan Parliament. So with that 1.4% budget,
30-something
you know, okay, just put it, divide it into every different committee. How much do you have for your local, whatever, business and for your foreign travels?
You talk about this
Okay.
being
No, no.
Senator is
No, no, wait.
confusing us. When
No,
he's
no, no, no,
bringing
no,
in the
let me-
issue
Yes.
of committees,
Yes.
he's actually trying to confuse.
No, no,
Kenya.
I'm not confusing you.
Let them give us a list. In this list, let them say Ledama Olekina went on the vote of the House Business Committee, and in his place where he is a member of the CPIC, that is the Committee on Accountability, somebody else went.
Let me break it down for you. Not a single member of the Public Accounts and Investment Committee traveled. I can tell you that as a fact. Number two, maybe there are a few members of the delegated committee that traveled in the Senate. I know members of my committee in the House Business traveled. They used that budget.
Okay.
Okay? Apart from, let us separate facts from fiction here.
All right.
Only in Parliament will the Commission of Revenue Allocation or even SRC tell you it cost X amount to maintain a member of Parliament for 5 years. You know, you cannot say the same for an executive.
Well, to put it in simple terms, what you're saying in some form of defense is that there's money to be spent and there's budgeted for this kind of thing, and we're not at fault for using it. But if you use this common sense,
All I'm saying
when you
is
started
this.
your argument, if you use a common sense and you look at the numbers of those who represented Kenya, the biggest delegation, as compared to these others, for instance, from the US, who only represented by 6 delegates, Nigeria 20, Brazil 9, and Japan 6, still quoting this article by Lucas Baraza. You have to wonder, and you're talking about dramatizing. Yeah, it doesn't make sense why 90 people would be there.
Everybody has a vote here.
Let me be honest and try to be completely blunt on this. There are people who find excitement in traveling to the States. I've lived in the US for 20 years. There's nothing exciting about it. I can tell you that.
So there could be truth to the number.
To some extent,
yes,
maybe each committee saw it necessary to take advantage of sending their members to the US. Maybe they could learn something. That's number one. Like I said clearly, is that and I'll get into the issue of Dolly Parton. I said it clearly that each committee has its budget. If they felt necessary to spend their entire budget on that trip to the US, it's up to them. It's their own prerogative. They will not be allocated any more extra money for them to be able to go to any other trip. You know, this thing happened year in, year out. Committees travel. There's probably a committee traveling to Russia tomorrow. There's probably a committee
but for
currently.
what purpose and how will it help the Kenyan?
Reports. It's not even about
the
reports,
report even
really.
come out?
It's about trying to build their capacity in terms of understanding comparative politics.
Well, a Kenyan reading this
comparative
story, and you call it
jurisdictions.
very heavily dramatized, is that for the legislative conference, whose agenda included sampling country music and getting inspirational talks from songstress Dolly Parton, and people will ask, what the heck would you be going there to do? It's a legislative conference.
Let me ask you a very simple question.
Yes.
If a tourist is coming to Kenya, if anybody is coming to Kenya, as a senator of Narok County, where would I want them to go to? Masai Mara, right? Yeah. Tennessee is home of country music. As a matter of fact, if you go from one club to another, you'd find the same country music, the same guitar being played. It's cheap. Okay? So, as an event organizer...
But are they going there as a tourist or a representative?
Now, let me
of
finish
Kenya?
this.
Yes.
Just listen to me. Because you're a human being. And I'm not defending anything, but I'm just being completely realistic. If I go, I work from 9 to 5 or maybe from 9 to 10.
Right.
There's nothing evil about me going in and celebrating some kind of, Dolly Parton
Why not
music.
go on your own cost? No
What do you
one
mean?
challenges that.
Are you
Go on your own
telling
cost.
me,
Yeah.
Mark, it's like telling me I go in a 5-star hotel and just because my per diem can only allow me to consume a meal of $20, I cannot look at a menu that has a $200, meal. Listen, the event organizers saw it necessary to be able to showcase what they have to offer in Tennessee, so that if that legislator who is appearing to come to this legislative assembly, maybe tomorrow can decide, you know what, it's really damn cheap here. I can bring my family. And they make money. That is what we in Kenya ought to learn. So that when we bring in tourists, we don't lock them in KICC. We take advantage. Yes. We take them to Masai Mara. We take them to Mombasa.
Okay. Your response, Ken.
This is very simple. At least Senator has come out to try and explain what they did.
Yes.
And according to him, it is Tennessee that was trying to showcase what they have.
But that's a fact.
But why did their counterparts in the National Assembly go on an overboard to even threaten journalists? That is what we are looking at. Because there was no need of the Member of Parliament for Budalangi to go out as much as he did and say, we should sack these people. Or
because it
the
paints
other
them in
Member of
bad light.
Parliament
Yes.
to go out and say that everywhere you go, everybody is painting you in bad light.
Yes.
What was so hard in coming out and saying that this is what we did, these were the benefits, and all that, instead of spending a whole session of Parliament discussing the Daily Nation, and Nation in particular, trying to put out that this is what you guys said about us. He has explained and said there are people who are excited about going to the US. I have never been there. If Nation were to sponsor me today, I will gladly go. And I will sample those
the local talent. Yes, but someone will ask for these public figures, what are they bringing back home from this? But nonetheless, this is something that Dina has faced in terms of the furor. It's not the first time. And she did the household bribes with Anthony Mwangi while at People Daily. This was in 2008. And just from that experience, 2018, beg your pardon, in August 2018. And just from that experience, Dina, you can see clearly anything that paints the parliamentarians in bad light is going to welcome a lot of anger. Just take us back to that experience and then now contrast that to this particular issue.
Before I comment, I think it will be very interesting to see what kind of report comes from the US, the US tree, because on the basis of that we'll be able to judge who's telling the truth in this case. And going back to negative stories about Parliament, I want to throw a spanner in the works to say that I don't think journalists purpose to write negative stories. The work of journalists as a journalist as a watchdog is to write things and to publish things that people don't want published. And because there's also a saying that anything else is public relations. Then if you want to look at it from that point of view, then you will appreciate that negative stories, it's the news subjects that see stories as negative. But have you tried to find out what the common Mwananchi thinks about such stories? Having said that, the Parliamentary Service Commission is one of the hugely funded institutions in this country. And there is a saying that to whom much is given, much is demanded. So parliamentary scrutiny by media is not going to stop any soon. And parliamentarians should really be ready. But I think from what we have seen, the threats and the bashing, I think it's because the parliamentarians have a platform. They have a house to vent, where they can vent their frustrations or their displeasure. And they are entitled to certain privileges. So are parliamentary journalists. So the question we could be asking now is, who is abusing their privilege here? Is it the parliamentarians or the parliamentary journalists?
And